Look at a part of the planet we have never seen before. A giant piece of ice broke off from an Antarctic ice shelf, ecosystem on the seafloor that has never been accessible to humans.
A towering wall of ice taller than skyscrapers didn't just crack, it vanished. When a 1,100-foot Antarctic ice wall collapsed, it exposed something no human had ever seen before. What lay hidden behind it had been sealed away for longer than civilization itself, untouched, unlit, and completely unknown. Scientists rushed in, expecting silence and emptiness, but what they encountered raised unsettling questions about Earth's past, its future, and the limits of life itself. Whatever was revealed behind that fallen ice wall is forcing experts to rethink everything, and the deeper they looked, the stranger it became. The ice wall collapse. In July 2017, satellite images captured a stunning event in Antarctica. A massive ice wall, more than 1,100 feet tall, taller than the Empire State Building, suddenly broke apart. This was the Larsen C ice shelf, a vast barrier of ice that had sealed off what lay beneath it for over 120,000 years. Scientists had tracked growing cracks for months, watching pressure build until the shelf finally gave way. The resulting iceberg, named A68, was 4 times the size of London and contained nearly 1 trillion tons of ice. The collapse unfolded rapidly. Huge sections shattered and drifted into the Southern Ocean, erasing a structure that had helped shape Antarctica's coastline for thousands of years. With the ice gone, landscapes buried beneath meters of frozen cover were suddenly exposed. These hidden spaces had been unreachable for generations, altered only by the slow movement of glaciers over immense spans of time. The ice shelf had acted like a sealed door, locking away a frozen world below. The scale of the event sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Beneath the shelf lay terrain untouched by sunlight, since long before modern humans existed. Now, researchers faced a brief and urgent opportunity to explore this environment before warming ocean waters transformed it. The window to study what lay beneath was narrow, and the changes were happening fast. What scientists found was far from empty. The newly exposed underwater caverns held clues to Antarctica's deep past, including signs of ancient geological processes and possible life. These areas, unseen for over 100,000 years, hinted at discoveries that could reshape understanding of the continent's history and its role in Earth's climate system. Underwater robots equipped with cameras were sent into the darkness beneath the collapsed shelf. Early images showed a landscape frozen in time. Researchers expected barren conditions, but what they encountered challenged assumptions about how life survives in extreme environments. The Larsen C collapse was not an isolated incident. Other glaciers and ice shelves across Antarctica are showing similar signs of stress as air and ocean temperatures rise. This event raised urgent questions about how quickly these frozen structures can fail and what that means for global sea levels. Scientists know this collapse revealed only a fraction of what lies beneath. The real significance was not just the loss of ice, but the unveiling of a hidden world whose stories are only beginning to surface. And with every crack and crevice exposed, Antarctica was revealing chapters of Earth's past that had, until now, been locked in shadow. Life thriving in darkness. Beneath the collapsed ice shelf, the underwater world defied expectations. Instead of barren rock and silence, scientists discovered a thriving community of life adapted to conditions no other place on Earth could offer. In utter darkness, without sunlight for over 120,000 years, ecosystems survived not by photosynthesis, but through chemical energy underground, sustained by methane seeping from the fractured bedrock. These discoveries challenged the long-held belief that sunlight was essential for complex life. The British Antarctic Survey and other research teams filmed sponges, brittle stars, sea cucumbers, and vibrant bacterial mats forming extensive colonies. Rather than mobile creatures, the life was mostly stationary filter feeders, patiently drawing nutrients from oxygen-rich waters circulating beneath the ice. The Antarctic bottom water is known for its cold temperature and high oxygen content, creating an environment uniquely capable of supporting this isolated ecosystem. The scale and organization of these communities suggested remarkable adaptation and resilience. Researchers were primarily taken aback by the fact that certain organisms were extremely varied and genetically very different from one another. The revealing of their DNA showed that several species were completely different from any other living species anywhere on Earth. These strange organisms, in fact, had been developing in isolation over thousands of years, thus becoming a kind of biological time capsule that displayed the parts of life on Earth that had never been explored. Some of the bacterial mats were so intricate that they literally looked like underwater cities with their spires and towers, and they created microhabitats for even more species of plants and animals to thrive in. The whole strange world ecology was based considerably on chemosynthesis. Certain bacteria, instead of using the sunlight, took up their energy from methane and other chemicals that were coming up through the seafloor cracks. This whole process of energy creation supported many organisms and made methane seeps aquatic oases in the midst of an otherwise lifeless and barren environment. The incredible number of organisms that congregated around these natural gas vents questioned the previously held notion of life in Antarctica's deep being, either scarce or simple. The results of this research affect not only the field of biology, but also the limits of our understanding of life significantly. Ecosystems that are very complex and have adapted to total darkness with only chemical energy as the source of light will be able to survive. This is the potential for life's resilience that is even bigger than Earth's. The revelations pointed towards evolutionary slopes that the scientific community has only started to discover. The scientific community is, through these living laboratories, finding out new survival techniques which, in turn, could completely change our knowledge of adaptation. On the other hand, this very delicate ecosystem is at risk. The melting of the ice wall revealed it after being sealed for a long time, but the rising temperatures in the oceans and the shifting of the currents are going to be the factors that may ultimately result in the death of this ecosystem or its unification with others. It's a race against time for the researchers to get a grasp of and to preserve the communities before they are changed forever. These ecosystems have been silently telling the story of Earth's climatic and environmental changes for thousands of years. Now, they are subjected to a very uncertain future. This discovery shifted the narrative of Antarctica from lifeless ice to a complex habitat with mysteries that demand understanding. Ancient landscapes revealed. The collapse of the ice shelf unveiled a breathtaking and hidden Antarctic terrain, more dramatic than anyone imagined. Sonar mapping revealed valleys carved deep into the bedrock, plunging over 7,000 feet below sea level, far deeper than the Grand Canyon. What had seemed a flat, icy expanse on the surface concealed rugged landscapes of mountains, plateaus, and riverbeds preserved in nearly perfect condition beneath miles of ice. These newly exposed landforms told stories of a warmer, wetter Antarctica before the Ice Age took hold. Ancient riverbeds snaking through the sea floor showed signs of powerful, sustained water flow, carving channels and basins in solid rock. Smooth stone surfaces and polished formations clearly testified to the erosive force of these prehistoric rivers. The topography resembled regions like Switzerland, with complex ridges and peaks dwarfing what the surface continent reveals. Perhaps most surprising was the realization that the Antarctic coastline we thought we knew was not the true edge of the continent. The real bedrock boundary lies hundreds of miles inland, beneath what we assumed was open ocean. The ice sheet extends far beyond visible coastlines, reshaping maps and our understanding of the continent's size and geography.
The polar regions of our planet may seem beyond the reach of most of us, but they are not beyond our influence.
This hidden world is a vast landscape, long buried and forgotten. The ancient mountains and valleys holding such geological stories have been sealed within the ice for millions of years. Some peaks rival the height of the Alps, but remain unseen by human eyes. These giant formations have been silent witnesses to Earth's shifting climate and tectonic history, locked beneath kilometers of ice for ages. Their sudden revelation fuels new questions about Antarctica's evolution and the forces shaping our planet. Discoveries also suggest that these landscapes were shaped not only by glacial ice, but by flowing freshwater in prehistoric times. Geological evidence indicates catastrophic flooding events, rapid sediment burial, and shifting climates that transformed this once green and vibrant land. Fossils and sediment layers preserved under the ice synchronize with these changes, painting a vivid picture of Antarctica's rich and dynamic past. Uncovering these ancient landscapes changes how scientists view Earth's climate history. It shows that dramatic environmental transformations occurred quickly in geological terms, shifting from temperate forests to frozen deserts in the blink of planetary time. This new knowledge is crucial for understanding how current climate change might unfold, and how fragile these icy regions truly are. Beneath the surface of these revelations, life adapted and endured in seemingly impossible ways, connecting the frozen landscapes to the unique ecosystems thriving in darkness below. Fossil evidence of a lost climate. Beneath the shattered ice and exposed seafloor, scientists uncovered astonishing fossil evidence that challenges everything we thought we knew about Antarctica's climate history.
It's the world's most remote and isolated continent. It's home to glaciers, mountains, plants, and penguins. But today, Antarctica is noteworthy for what it doesn't have.
Perfectly preserved tree trunks, some so large they resembled ancient oak, beech, and pine species, told a story of a continent that was once warm and green. These forests thrived when Antarctica rested much closer to the equator, long before tectonic shifts carried it to the icy pole it is today. The preservation was so exceptional that researchers could still study tree rings, count seasons, and analyze growth patterns as though the forests had just been frozen in time. Fossilized leaves showed microscopic details, displaying cellular structures and varieties familiar to temperate and even tropical ecosystems. Massive ferns with fronds the size of dinner tables and flowering plants from ancient rainforests were carbonized but intact beneath the ice. In some places, sediment layers revealed rapid burial, suggesting catastrophic events rather than slow geological change had sealed these ecosystems within the ice. This wasn't a gradual freeze. Entire forests may have been buried almost overnight, preserving them as if in a time capsule. Pollen samples extracted from the ice and sediment paint a vivid climate picture. Warm summers with mild winters, ample rainfall, and seasonal patterns that supported lush vegetation across what is now a frozen desert. These findings rewrite the Antarctic climate narrative, showing that it experienced dramatic and rapid shifts. The pollen data align with geological evidence indicating flash floods and melting events, when massive ice sheets temporarily retreated and inland seas formed. These cycles of warming and cooling happened in geological moments, reshaping vast landscapes repeatedly. What came as a shock was the discovery of the plant specimens that did not correspond to the current evolutionary or migration models. The genetic studies of some species revealed their existence through connections with the current flora in South America, Africa, and Australia. And these connections traced back to the times when these continents were a part of the supercontinent Gondwana. This botanical relationship shows how ancient Antarctica was an essential component of Earth's biological and geological systems, even though it eventually settled down at its isolated southern position. The ice was the factor that kept a living museum of the Earth's distant past, which included millions of years across its layers. The retrieval of these fossils, which were in an excellent state of preservation, not only provides significant hints about the history of Antarctica, but also about the global climate patterns and continental drift. The process of learning how the ecosystems in Antarctica once flourished, only to be buried and frozen, aids the scientists in constructing a model of climate systems that are responsive to extreme changes. If the past witnessed the rapid disappearance of Antarctic ecosystems, it implies that modern climate shifting may release far-reaching consequences more quickly than anticipated. Thus, the fossil record that is underneath the ice serves as a stark warning and a guide for future climate studies. The fossils not only contributed to climate science, but also provided a better understanding of a vanished world. Antarctica was an excellent example of a green continent that supported evolution among animals and plants. This was the time when powerful forces that are now buried under miles of ice were shaping the planet. Mother Nature used the acme of the continents and glacial ages to create and then to trap the evolution process in the form of ice. Thus, it gave us a rich archive for studying the natural selection and extinction processes. The past under the ice is a powerful reminder of the dynamic nature of our planet. The interaction of life and climate on planetary timescales has been brought to the surface by these findings. Changed conditions at a high rate. How did that impact the migration and survival of species? What were the points of no return that transformed Antarctica from a prosperous forested area into a barren iceland? There are still a lot of unanswered questions, but the finding of these fossils is a fantastic story of an extreme transformation, and that too in a very detailed manner. It has been a reminder and a wake-up call for us that there is still some climate history of the Earth that contains surprises and is still defying expectations. The revelations from Antarctica's frozen past lead to urgent concerns about the present, underscoring how vulnerable the ice sheets are and how quickly they can change, bringing us to a troubling look at climate risks today. Climate change and future risks. The collapse of the Larsen Sea ice shelf was not an isolated event, but a warning sign of growing instability in Antarctica driven by climate change. One glacier drawing particular concern is Thwaites, often called the Doomsday Glacier, which shows the same cracking and stress patterns seen before Larsen Sea failed. Thwaites alone holds enough ice to raise global sea levels by more than 2 feet, but its true danger lies in what it supports. Thwaites acts like a cork, holding back a much larger ice sheet that could raise sea levels by over 10 feet if released. Its collapse could trigger a chain reaction, destabilizing nearby glaciers across West Antarctica. The impact would be severe, placing millions in coastal cities at risk from flooding, storm surges, and permanent sea level rise. Retreating ice shelves reveal how this process unfolds. Warm ocean water flows into hidden channels beneath the ice, melting glaciers from below, often faster than surface melting caused by rising air temperatures. Ancient valleys and riverbeds carved into the bedrock show that rapid ice collapse has happened before, reshaping Antarctica in dramatic and irreversible ways. Scientists now believe climate models have underestimated how quickly ice shelves can fail. The speed of Larsen Sea's breakup challenged assumptions about ice stability and forced researchers to rethink how glaciers respond to ocean warming and feed back into global climate systems. This understanding is critical for predicting future sea level rise. Satellite data show Antarctica is losing more ice each year than it gains, with losses accelerating due to combined atmospheric and ocean warming. The complex interaction between ice shelves, glaciers, and ocean currents makes predictions difficult, but underscores urgency. Political concerns add another layer of risk. The Antarctic Treaty, in place since 1959, faces pressure as melting ice exposes valuable resources beneath the continent. Decisions made in the coming decades will determine whether Antarctica remains protected or becomes a zone of conflict. Ultimately, Antarctica is both a warning and a laboratory. What happens there will shape coastlines, communities, and climate systems worldwide. From understanding the realities of climate change here on Earth, a new perspective emerges, one that also stirs wonder about life's resilience far beyond our planet's bounds. Implications for extraterrestrial life. The discovery of thriving ecosystems beneath Antarctica's ice is reshaping not only our understanding of life on Earth, but also how scientists search for life beyond it.
Below the ice in Antarctica are these incredible communities, and for them, of course, it's incredibly normal. That's exactly what they've evolved to live in. The communities are so rich and so vibrant, so completely alien to our world.
Icy moons such as Jupiter's Europa and Saturn's Enceladus closely resemble these Antarctic environments, with thick ice shells hiding vast oceans below. For years, scientists theorized that life could exist in such places. Antarctica now provides real-world proof that life can survive extreme cold, darkness, and isolation without sunlight. Beneath the ice, Antarctic organisms rely on chemosynthesis, drawing energy from chemical reactions involving methane and minerals rather than photosynthesis. This process sustains entire ecosystems in total darkness and offers a compelling model for how life might exist beneath the icy crusts of distant moons, where similar chemical energy sources may be present. Antarctica has also literally become the site for testing most of the future space explorations. The technology that drills through thousands of meters of ice and deploys autonomous robots to the under-ice lakes for studying all of these closely resembles the methods that are planned for the missions that go to Europa and Enceladus. The robots that are now working in the waters of Antarctica are the very prototypes of the ones that will eventually go to the alien oceans. One of the most unexpected findings, among others, was that there were complex organisms right under the ice, including shrimp-like amphipods. In such a harsh environment, the scientists had lowered their expectations and were willing to find only single-celled microbes. The discovery of multicellular life forms not only changes the map of life's distribution, but also necessitates a rethinking of the concept of habitable zones. More than 100 million years of research, over 90% of Antarctica under the ice still lies untouched. The expedition discloses more new life and challenges with new doubts, keeping the excitement surrounding both Earth's hidden ecosystems and the possibility of life in the universe. The countdown is on. Climate change is wreaking havoc on these delicate environments and making Antarctica not only the last frontier of discovery, but also the supreme laboratory for life's resilience understanding and our place in the universe. Antarctica's collapsing ice walls have revealed secrets that challenge our understanding of Earth's past, expose urgent climate threats, and widen the search for life beyond our planet. These discoveries remind us that the world still holds mysteries far greater than we imagine. If this journey sparked your curiosity, like the video and subscribe for more explorations into the unknown, and stay with us by watching the next story now appearing on your screen, where the mystery goes even deeper.